time to go visit Father Kramer in Ireland and find out what's going on from his perspective, which actually matches mine, even though I'm not a Catholic, and many, many of our listeners worldwide. He is a man who has come to be known as the one carrying the torch of truth in the face of very ugly, well, I guess you just call it the Vatican at this point. Vatican maneuvers. It's the Bergoglio Part 2 that we're watching unfold. Here's an article that I got today. Actually, Father Kramer did send it to me. It's very good. The case against Leo the 14th. That's the new Pope, if you don't know, Leo the 14th. And it's very interesting. Chris Jackson, as the name of the author. It's obvious now that I think Father Kramer's warnings have been picked up and listened to and accepted by an awful lot of people. This is a very powerful article. Hello, Father Kramer. Welcome back.
It's great to be back.
Thank you. I think people are finally hearing your message big time. I think it's out.
Yes, there are indications. Even bishops are beginning to wake up now.
Well, you've earned it, and they all earn it. They make the effort. And to hear them listening and talking and to see this article is very encouraging. Let me read just a little bit of it. They told us to calm down, to give him time, that's Leo the 14th, to stop pouncing on the new pontificate. Trad Incorporated whispers that Leo the 14th is a man we can work with, quote, that we should quiet our pens and just let things breathe. Meanwhile, the revolution accelerates under a softer smile, perhaps, and the silence of those who should know better. Right? This is quite a shield they have. What follows is a record, just 4 months into Leo XIV's reign, of words spoken, gestures made, appointments confirmed, and scandals ratified. If this is what Trad Incorporated considers encouraging signs, then they have abandoned their vocation as watchmen and chosen instead to play the courtiers of a counterfeit peace, P-E-A-C-E. And that's well said. This is a good writer. Looks pretty good. I'll read the rest of it later. Tell us what's up. Where are we?
Well, we are basically, the world today is in a situation rather like 1939 when it was inevitable that there was going to be a world war. And
right.
Our Lady of Fatima had given us the antidote, how to prevent World War II and World War III from happening, but it was not heeded, and World War II did take place. She said, of course, that the most basic requirement was that people had to return to God, to turn away from sin and return to God, obedience to the divine commandments. That was the number one thing.
Right.
She said that it would be necessary for the Pope and all the bishops of the world to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Of course, that was never done. It still has not been done. You had this faulty act was not done correctly. Russia was not even mentioned by Pope John Paul II. You had another one done by this counterfeit Pope Francis, and he also, although he mentioned Russia, he was not done with all the bishops, and so
no. But and for those of you new,
there was again confirming what's going to take place. What was foretold by the message of Our Lady of Fatima. There was a prophetic message given to a French nun by the name of Mother Yvonne-Aimée de Malestroit. And in 1922, she had a vision of seeing a great darkness covering the earth, spirals of smoke that seemed to rise up into heaven and up into the sky. And a heavenly voice said to her, "These are the trials to come. They will be absolutely incredible, but rejoice, because know that the Lord will come to help you." And what she saw were the German soldiers. She saw planes dropping what we call bombs. They didn't have bombs, or the kind of bombs we had in the Second World War earlier in the time when she saw that.
Right.
Planes dropping large cylinders over cities, causing huge fires. The bombs explode and cause fires.
Those are incendiaries. Yeah.
She saw the number 39. Of course, 1939 is when it all began. She also saw the visions. She saw a tall general decorating her, and that was General Charles de Gaulle, who awarded her the Legion of Honor in July of 1945. She died in 1949. She was born in 1901.
This is all committed to print in the 20s, was it? Written about, spoken about, but preserved. It was on record in the 20s sometime that she was seeing these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty profound.
For example, she saw the green uniforms that the Germans wore, and they had not yet adopted the green uniforms when she had received the vision. That was rather impressive.
Yeah.
She foretold prophetically the Second World War, but then she also foretold the Third World War. The Third World War and the Russian invasion with its Islamist allies.
Tell me more. What else did she say?
I can mention that when the NATO countries, especially the United States, were becoming more intransigent regarding the situation in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin said that he made his pivot to the Middle East, to Iran, and made more tight relations with Iran regarding their military cooperation.
Oh, they signed a number of agreements, yes, from large to small. Nothing massive, though, in one fell swoop, but they have increased and improved cooperation across the board. Now it's India, China, and Russia, and Iran, known as the Eastern Axis in some schools of thought. So, yeah, we're pushing all of our enemies together, we, the West. But that's exactly what's going on. And, Trump, by the way, did you see where Trump admitted that he bombed Iran for Israel? He did it for Israel.
It was also foretold by another French woman by the name of Marie-Julie Jehani, who...
That was the first... excuse me, Father Kramer, was the first one you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, a French woman. But was she in or out of the church to any significant degree? Or was she just a normal person in France who had visions?
She was a nun. I forgot the name of her order.
Okay.
But she was a member of a religious order. She was an Augustinian nun.
Right.
She was the mother superior of the convent of nuns. So that's what she was. She was Mother Yvonne-Aimée of Malestroit.
Okay.
So she foretold what was also foretold in other revelations, like the revelations made that I mentioned to Marie-Julie Jehani and to an Italian nun who was beatified by the church, Blessed Elena Aiello, who foretold the invasion, that Russia will invade Europe. Of course, Russia is being provoked terribly by the West. The NATO forces are insane.
Agreed.
They're acting insanely.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. It's like Satan himself is at the controls here.
It's going to be a brutal war because it's going to be a blitzkrieg against Europe.
Mm-hmm.
The warning was given by Blessed Elena Aiello that Russia is in possession of secret weapons.
Putin alluded to that. He said, we have weapons that the world has never seen, the likes of before. And Trump tried to counter that by mimicking him. But I believe so. I have no doubt, frankly, that they do. These are going to be very disastrous times for humanity. And all in the background, remember, AI is working. This is all a very interesting play to watch. By the way, that article I mentioned, I looked ahead a little bit. It's very interesting. Little section header here. Canonizing Pope Francis, the deceased, without a process. On May the 18th, Leo the 14th declared at St. Peter's, quote, I strongly felt the spiritual presence of Pope Francis accompanying us from heaven, end quote. Not, may he rest in peace, not a cautious appeal to God's mercy. No, Francis was publicly enthroned among the saints without devil's advocate, miracles, or process. A papal canonization by tweet and homily. 2 days later, Leo doubled down. Quote, he accompanies us and prays for the church from heaven. End quote. This was the elevation of Pope Francis, Bergoglio, the man who enthroned so many things that were antithetical to traditional Catholicism. He blessed adultery. He sanctioned sodomy. This guy was poisonous as you get. And now maybe throughout the history of the church there have been others of similar ilk, but this guy is the worst. And Leo the 14th is might as well be Francis 2.0. He's just Francis light, but the darkness is right there in full view.
In a matter of speaking, he's worse insofar as he is not so openly evil
stealthy.
as was Bergoglio. He received in audience the Jesuit James Martin. Receives him like a guest of honor. I mean, this is
pretty disgusting.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's something that a Catholic Pope would never have done. A Catholic Pope would have excommunicated James Martin.
Should have happened. Right.
Leo receives him as an honored guest. It's just
pretty diabolical stuff. Yeah, it is. I agree.
The church in Germany, of course, which is no longer even Catholic, it's gone so completely radical. He tells the German bishops that he's accompanying them spiritually with hope or something like the words to that effect. I can't remember the exact phrase he used, but nothing by way of correction. He's approving of them. I mean, they're known for having been more radical than Bergoglio himself.
Well, he's green-lighting the worst, then. I didn't know this. This is bad. I don't know how much longer the church can actually function without some kind of a revolt somewhere. Now, again, I mentioned that you are being listened to. You have tremendous influence now. You've earned it with your honesty and your observations about the church. What are the rank and file going to do? First of all, before I even ask that, I should ask you, what are your thoughts about Catholics worldwide and their understanding of Francis Bergoglio and the treachery and betrayal that man literally threw in the face of Catholicism for all the years he was in office? Do they know? Do most Catholics know how they've been sold out? That's the question.
There are so many who are absolutely clueless because now we're living in an age where so many were born after the Second Vatican Council. And they did not know what the church was like before the revolution began. What is ultimately going to turn them around and bring them back to the Catholic faith, observance of the commandments of God, is going to be the oppression that takes place with the war. There's going to be war. There's going to be a great famine throughout the earth. There is going to be what we see happening now in the Western countries, just the absolute madness of the governments. And what has been foretold since the 19th century, the loss of all civil liberties, all the constitutional rights and civil liberties that are disappearing. People are going to be reduced to abject poverty. And we see that happening. People who get their university degrees, the ones who are lucky enough to get employment, and the others are unemployed. So those who get jobs are working and can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford to rent a house.
No, the dream is gone for them. No, they're slaves of a system that has been carefully assembled and now turned loose on them to keep them downtrodden. And they're running out of money. They're in debt. It's a terrible thing over here to watch. I'm sure it's the same over there. It's the entire Western world that has been targeted for demolition. And what's going to come up out of that is something that most people, I don't think, could even imagine. The control, the domination, the censorship, the fear, all of it. It's all in the works.
And so many people, Catholics, especially among the Catholics, they have a collective amnesia about things that they already knew about for decades. The New World Order, how the New World Order is to be brought in. And with the complete disappearance of the constitutional process of due process of law, and it is being ushered in under the guise of immigration enforcement.
I know.
What we see happening is people are being confronted by men who are not even wearing uniform. They're wearing masks. They're not wearing proper uniforms. They're stopping people. They're stopping their cars. Even they're using their own law enforcement vehicles to barge into people's cars.
Terrifying people. They're bullying people. It's worse than bullying. I agree.
They're not coming up to people with an arrest warrant. What they're doing is that they're just laying hands on people and dragging them off and throwing them into metal cages.
And these are events occurring probably every day now in the enlightened Western world. Absolutely.
And so many people, and Catholics who should know better, people who read about, who saw videos, who saw documentary films and read articles in journals about the New World Order, how they were planning to put people into detention camps. They saw Trump as the great savior.
It's awful to watch what's happening here.
He's not the one in charge. He's just carrying out his assigned task. We read about this back in the 90s, that they were building detention camps. They were going to send people to these detention camps, concentration camps, basically. Those who are considered to be a threat to the New World Order. They will be rounded up. They will be put into these detention camps. And that's what this is all leading to. And now we have people who are being brutalized, being rounded up, no arrest warrants, nothing, no legal process.
No.
And people are so duped into thinking that, well, they're only going after criminals who are illegal aliens. They are arresting not only people who are legally resident.
Mm-hmm.
You have foreign residents who are legally in the United States who are being arrested. They arrest and deport first and ask questions later. In fact,
I'm not sure how many they're even deporting, Father Kramer. Trump you got 20 to 30 million here. And the last I heard, well, let me see what our AI friend tells me here. Hold on. See, how many a day are being actually deported from the U.S.? How many illegals are being deported every day in the USA? Let's see what AI has to say. There are no official deportation statistics publicly released by the U.S. government, though the Trump administration reported arresting 8 to 11,000 undocumented immigrants after its inauguration. Was that last January? Okay. 8 to 11,000. A figure that's sometimes linked to daily deportation numbers. Deportation is a legal process, da-da-da-da-da. All right. There's no number. They're not even talking about numbers now. It was something like 2,000 a day. And if you divide that by 30 million and convert it to days, we're talking about a hell of a long time before there's any meaningful deportation done in this country. It's just not happening. And all of Trump's big pronouncements, many of his big moves are being conveniently, and I would suggest in many cases, knowingly overturned, held in abeyance, stopped, put in stasis by the communist Obama judges who are just waiting for Trump to do something else. It's a very morbid show to watch.
So many of these people are legally in the United States. They are not undocumented. They are documented people who have entered the United States. All the proper procedures have been followed. They are legal residents.
They come in the front door. That's right.
And some of them were given asylum. Like I was reading about a man who was a translator for the American forces in Afghanistan, who was brought to the United States. Having worked closely with the American forces, he would be killed if they left him behind with the Taliban.
Sure.
But this man was deported to Afghanistan. He was legally in the United States, given the reward of coming to the United States as an immigrant because he had worked with the U.S. military. And what did Trump's government do? They rewarded him by sending him back to the Taliban to be killed by them over there.
He's dead. He's dead already, I would imagine. Now, and now the latest here in our hemisphere, Trump has 2,500 Marines, 7 or 8 warships now sailing back and forth allegedly off the shores of the international shores of Venezuela. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what they are doing. It's a mess everywhere you look here. We don't have the munitions to fight any kind of a war, let alone a two-front war to help Europe repulse a Russian invasion. to fight in the South China Sea against China? No way. We don't have it. We can't do it. Not to mention the obvious fact, as you well know, that the days of the projection of enormous military force and might by aircraft carrier strike groups is essentially over. They're just floating graveyards. Hypersonic anti-ship missiles exist, and they are apparently rather common now. And any of those targeting a major ship are not going to be stopped. It's not going to happen. We don't have defenses for it. So those days are gone.
When the war begins, the United States is prepared to fight a 21st century war with 20th century weaponry.
That's right, and technology. It's not going to change. We can't catch up. We have largely reduced our inventory. We've disarmed ourselves by sending so much of our material to Ukraine to be burned up in that futile war against Russia. We've sent so much to Israel. It's nauseating what we do to Israel in terms of support. We give them everything they want and then some. I think the C-5 and C-17s are flying back and forth probably every day, nonstop, with more material. We don't have the inventory stockpile that we need to fight a war. Somebody had said it was 6 days worth. Well, it's all we have left. So what are we reduced to? Nuclear weapons. That's all we have. We can't fight a traditional war. You ever seen video of the Chinese military, that big parade they had? You think we can match that? No way. The determination of those troops is frightening. They are thoroughly in the program over there. And there are 5 million communist Chinese who are front door residents in the U.S. right now. 5 million. And if you take 10% of that, that's 500,000 troops. Now, Trump just last week said he's allowing 600,000 more Chinese nationals to come over here into the U.S. 600,000 more. And they're all CCP, PLA. So the Chinese actually have, or will have, a potential standing army here, although it will be clandestine and stealth, of about 1 million men and women right here in the U.S. Think about it. We only have 1.3 million in our entire military. We can't fight that off. It's not a good picture.
I was reading how they were going to do this already in the 90s. In the early 90s, they were talking about the plan was between Russia and China that the United States, the 48 states of the continental United States, they would be occupied by the Chinese.
Right. They have the people here to do it. That's my point. They've got 5 million. I don't know what age they are, but let's say 10% at least are combat capable. And Trump just allowed 600,000 more to come in. We could be taken down from within, no problem, in this country. That's my take.
What is the federal government's response to the situation? They're saying they're just doubling down with the war in Ukraine and saying that they have to arm the Zelensky regime even more and support them in their war effort against Russia.
Yeah, this is all coming from. Go ahead, go.
This is not doing Ukraine any favor. I mean, by arming them to fight against Russia, is this helping them get pushed into the meat grinder?
Well, they're culling the Christian. Young, well, they're taking 60-year-olds now in the military. They're conscripting them. But the true numbers of Ukrainian dead now in this 3.5-year war is 1.8 million. 14 million have fled Ukraine. They're never going to go back.
Preparing legislation and such to round up Americans who they consider to be potential security threat.
Or potential anti-Semites, too. That's going to be in there. You're right. Pre-crime screening, Palantir, all going to be projected onto the people. Everything they say, everything they write, everything they do will be processed by AI, and it'll be matching a profile created by them, the controllers, to determine someone who is about to commit, in their view, a crime. and they'll be hassled, questioned, in some cases arrested, hauled off at night. This is all coming.
They will be hauled off. They will be arrested. They will be put into concentration camps. And what we see happening already is the total disappearance of any kind of legal recourse, any due process of law. That the constitutional protections that people had in the past are gone.
How does it look from over there? You live in Europe. How does America look to the rank and file Europeans who have their own grievous problems, we know, but how does this country look? Used to be looked at and looked upon as a potential savior, a light to the world. No longer.
No, Europeans are afraid to travel to the United States now. You have European governments that are giving travel advisories to their citizens, warning Europeans not to travel to the United States because it's too dangerous to go there.
Wow. And not to travel to their local supermarket because it's too dangerous there. They've been overrun with Islamists, Africans. You saw what happened in Germany, right, with the AfD, the most important political party in Germany, the number one political party in Germany, and the North Westphalian elections are coming up on the 15th, and the AfD was expected to sweep, and 7 AfD candidates in the pending upcoming elections have died suddenly. So that's where Germany is right now. Germany is done.
These MAGA, already back in the 1990s, people who were publishing newsletters, even before the internet was very widespread,
right.
you received these printed newsletters in the mail talking about this kind of thing that's going to take place in the United States in the near future.
Correct. One was called The Spotlight, used to present a lot of great information. It was a terrific newsletter. That was one. There were others. That was the source of much of my early learning.
There was a Spotlight. There was Criminal Politics.
There were some brave people standing on the First Amendment, which, you mentioned the Constitution earlier. Americans, to their undying shame, have not held that Constitution high over these corrupt politicians in Washington. They haven't done it. They've allowed the Constitution to be pushed further and further into the background. By our silence, we allow, and no one is saying much of anything. And if they do, it's often censored and deleted from the internet because that's the platform where everybody speaks, and it's all Father Kramer. Anything we've missed that you want to put on the table tonight?
As far as making predictions for the future, everything must be put into the context of the coming World War. There's going to be a financial, economic collapse. There's going to be a world war, which is going to be much worse than the Second World War. As far as if people make plans for their life in the future, we've got to factor in that there's going to be a world war and things are not going to be going according to our plans. People generally have what is called this normalcy bias, and they think things are going to keep going on like they're going on.
Oh, they do?
But
all right.
Things are not going to go on as they're going on. We're looking at the worst world war that humanity will ever have seen, and that's about to begin in the immediate future. And
a normalcy bias. Yeah, I try to tell people that the contrived demolition of Western culture and society and economics and all the rest of it, it's being taken down. There will be no recovery on the other side like there was in past economic downturns. There's a recovery. People say, well, I'll wait for the recovery. There's not going to be a recovery this time. When it does come back, eventually, it may not be remotely recognizable.
What kind of recovery can we expect when we have a world in ruins?
Can't. The interesting thing about war plans, they never go according to plan. They go, things happen, and bad things can happen, far worse than are even planned. I think in this coming war, there will be multiple biological weapons used as well. EMP pulse weapons will annihilate anything controlled by a computer. It's going to be go for broke, friends. There's no halfway on this one.
Leaves us with the one point of hope, of course, is the message of Fatima. Our Lady of Fatima said, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, Russia will be converted, and a period of peace will be given to the world. So the world will be spared from total destruction.
Well, I'll take that and hold it closely, for sure. All right, Father Kramer, thank you again for getting up, being up.
Okay, bye now.
All right, good night.